Thank you. So, usually when I present, I talk about how people can change the world. I talk about cost-efficient leadership today. Sometimes I talk about the obsolescence of gatekeepers. I talk about flow of information. Today I'm not going to do that. I'm going to talk about how you feel when you're going up against insurmountable odds. I'm going to talk about the fear you feel the first time somebody puts you on a stool and says, look into this white cross, you're going to be on live television shortly. But it's also a story about tears of joy when you succeed. So, a brief introduction first. If you want to get in touch with me on Twitter or just say how much I rock or how much I suck, this is my Twitter alias. I love seeing my name on Twitter since this is about introspection and feelings. I love that. But you can also mention my name on any web page, in any blog post, and I will notice. That's an advantage of having a globally unique name. Now, a brief introduction. For how many here have heard of the Swedish Pirate Party? Let's see a show of hands. I'd say that somewhere between half and 2/3, perhaps. And that's actually quite common. It's no matter where percent in the world, that's about the ratio. So I took the liberty of even putting that in my slides. Now, just for kicks, how many in here have heard of any other Swedish political party? Let's see a show of hands. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, same thing there. It's pretty consistent across the world. But how many have seen this? There, scattered hands. So I can put that in my slide as well. Now, an introduction about me is that I founded the first pirate party in 2006 and gradually grew this into having seats in the European Parliament. These days, I'm traveling and speaking, presenting how this spread to 50 countries under the name of something called the European Pirate Academy. And the idea of that is that it's a newly formed non-profit with the objective of learning from all the pirate parties, all the net liberty activists, and repackaging that information about leadership, about cost efficiency, communications, and not the least, agility, organizational agility, and I'll be speaking quite a bit about that. We share it with the rest of the world, notably with corporate and governmental agencies who usually have no idea about how to deal with this stuff. To today's main attraction. What goes through your mind when you're insane enough to do something like this? What's the deal here? What bothered me was that when you have a letter, when our parents sent a letter in the mail, there was certain things that happened with that letter. It was always anonymous. You decided alone whether to sign your name on the outside of the envelope, on the inside of the letter for only the recipient to know, or not at all. It was secret in transit. Nobody had the right to open your letters just to see what you were writing about, or if there was something illegal in that letter. If you were under previous suspicion of a crime, sure, government could get a search warrant, but they would not open letters just to see if it contained something illegal without prior suspicion. It was untracked. Nobody had the ability nor the right to track and store and cross-reference who was communicating with whom. And last but not least, the mailman was never responsible for the contents of a message. It was sealed, obviously, right? You're laughing, but we're going here. The observation I made initially was that I think it's entirely reasonable that our children have the same rights as our parents had in their environment of communication. And so when you present this case, a couple of industries will kind of object to this, saying that, in particular the copyright industry will say that, you can't let anybody send anything to anybody without tracking it, without eavesdropping on it. We'd not be able to sell stuff anymore. and I say, so what? We don't determine. The job of any entrepreneur is to make money given the current constraints of technology and of society. Nobody gets to dismantle civil liberties just because they can't make money otherwise. If they can't sell stuff, or the stuff they've sold previously in the face of sustained civil liberties, they have to sell something else. Mustard, perhaps. So, with that in mind, let's see just how much changed in my life in the early days of 2006. My journey. How can you go up against the entire world? What I realized that you're not going up against the entire world. I mean, you'd feel fear when going up against some of the richest corporations on the planet, right? You'd feel fear as you leave your job. You take on a journey that risks branding you as a permanent idiot. But the thing is, you're not going up against the entire world. You're going up against a few specific people who are authorities in that area that you care about. And the thing is, that the key realization here is that they have absolutely no genetic advantage over you. So you can outmatch them, you can outwit them, you can dropkick their system. You just need to find out how. The barriers to entry here are gone. It used to be that authority was sold, or at least traded for money, or traded for not money, as in you could send a letter to the editor, and they would give you space in exchange for having a presentable authority that they could somehow stand for. That's gone. Authority has become abundant. Anybody can publish any idea to the entire world, and they can become an authority on a subject they care about. Nobody needs to ask permission any longer to become an authority on a subject they care about. And this is key. This is a key point. So what happened was that I realized that people are people, and nobody here was being evil. And painting them as evil did not help anything I was trying to accomplish. It would only define me if I called them evil. So you needed a bit of systemic judo. You needed to find people who are aligned with what you needed to accomplish, though maybe not necessarily for the same reason, and cooperate with them on a very specific issue. I figured you needed 225,000 votes. It turned out that you could get that. So I posted a manifesto. I wrote 2 lines in a chat channel, just, hey, look, the Pirate Party has its website up now after New Year's, and the address. That's all the advertising I ever did. And what happened was that 300 activists would turn up the next day in a chat channel. And I had not even instructed people to come to this chat channel. It formed all by itself. And what struck me even more was that these people felt that I was their leader, because I'd set up the website. And I kind of like, hey, wait a minute, I'm not sure I'm prepared for this. The next day, media started writing about it. And then Nordic media, then European media, and then the world media. People I had never heard of started moving into my apartment, just saying, I want to be a part of this. Please let me help out. Okay, so what do you want to do? I want to come up there to Stockholm and help you with this. Okay, so, like, can I live with you? I guess. So, out of nowhere came people who just wanted to be a part of this. We had breakfast together, lunch together, dinner together, and we worked around the clock to make this happen. People just came out of nowhere. That's what happened when you have this aligned interests. And I realized this was my chance to change the world for the better. I could just go back into the ordinary rat race. I could sort of disappear into the gray mass again. But what would I feel? my whole life would have been just one big what if. And I realized it wasn't really a choice. This was not really a choice. Even though it would have been one, in theory, I would not have been able to see myself in the mirror if I didn't jump on this. So I had a high-paying IT job at the time. I decided to take a really huge bank loan, and they asked me, so what do you need the money for? Okay, I'm not going to tell them that I'm going to start a political party and use it to change the entire world. I'm not going to get this loan. So I just said, a project. And they said, okay, sir, here you go. And so I quit, and then I quit my job. In that order, nota bene, very important. And took the leap of faith. As in, I just jumped. I was burning bridges. I was killing my career. I knew that. People were going to look at me like an idiot if I didn't make this. So I needed to make that. And what happened next was kind of extraordinary, because media started reporting about me in ways I was not prepared for. Most people, when faced with this, react like, I can't lead people like this. I'm not the leader type. I'm not charismatic. But the thing is, what you realize is that it doesn't work like that. I saw myself as a very introverted geek who was barely capable of leading a couple of servers through a pre-scripted process. And maybe could get a couple of people cooperating on that. So when media started describing this very charismatic 34-year-old leading the new pirate party, I was kind of looking over my shoulder to see who they were talking about. And it works the other way around. People see you as charismatic because you're leading something, because your passion is showing, because you believe. That is charisma. You will be put in a position of leadership from people who share your vision. Everybody in this room is capable of doing that. And I'm betting that every single body in this room has a dream they'd like to see happen. Maybe you'd like to go to Mars. Maybe you'd like to end illiteracy, teach 2 billion people to read. It feels scary. It feels impossible. But every single body in this room is able of making it happen. Every one of you. It is, and I'll come a bit to that later. The next fear I had, media. Oh dear, media. They're going to have me for breakfast. It turned out that it didn't work that way. That was not in their interest. It turned out that reporters were individuals, and some of those individuals shared my passion, shared my vision, and they just needed to sort of have a reason to write about it that they could justify to their manager. People are individuals. And there was absolutely no interest in going out and picking a random guy on the street and just tearing their dreams apart. There's no media value in that. But presenting dreams, there's value in that. And again, systemic judo. When I came onto my first live TV debate, that was something really special. And as I came out of that debate, my opponent asked me a question. He asked me, you know, Rick, I'd still like to know the answer to that question you didn't get a chance to answer on air. And I'd look at him and I'd kind of go blank and I'd say, what question? And I realized I have no collection of the previous 15 minutes. My stress levels had been just stratospheric. But it turns out that I looked at it recorded, felt kind of awkward, but I realized I'd been doing pretty well. I'd been looking like the authority I wanted to be. I'd been giving the answers that looked credible. And you learn. You learn. You get experience. And at some point later, when this happens, you're going to go into CNN's office, they're going to put you on a stool, they're going to say, look into this red cross, or the white cross on the wall. They put floodlights in your face. It feels like this typical movie interrogation, and they go through the standards like, we have this program, we expect about 270 million viewers tonight, the demographics is divided like this and this and this and this. And the first time you hear that, you kind of stop after 270 million viewers and rewind. But there's another thing here. You remember, I ran out of money. I didn't have enough money to run on. So I asked people for donations. I was essentially a beggar for 18 months. And to wrap this up with feelings, I'd like to say that we feel that we can't beat the system. We feel that authorities we see on television are unattainable to us, that we could never trade places with them. We feel that we're up against insurmountable odds when we want to change the world. We are not. The next time you see somebody on television, remember that I started this movement and I was begging people for money. I was living off of handouts while on CNN, while changing the world one debate at a time. You can do this, and you'll feel fear, but everything is possible. Thank you.